Hey everyone, welcome from the depths. I'm Menti, and this is episode 90 of the Battleship Brawls Season 4 tournament. This episode we've got the CSB4-E by Drawaway, becoming the active combatant and facing off against the Polaris by Blunder Guy. We've seen both of these ships in battle multiple times before. In fact, they both have 2 losses, so whoever wins this gets to continue on, and whoever loses is eliminated from the tournament. Let's go ahead and get this battle underway and see who that's going to be. Or who's going to be what. Polaris getting a few shots off first, but the CSB answering almost immediately. And it gets moving, probably going to get out from underneath those shells. Yep, those are a miss. The CSB's return fire, on the other hand, does score a couple of hits. Those HE shells missed, but some minor damage to the Polaris with that initial volley. And another volley coming in. CSB's CSB's fragments going everywhere. We do have a full penetration into the hull. Well, not penetration, but there's a hole blown clean through the deck. There. Both ships not taking an extreme amount of damage. Oh, but the CSB has taken some gun damage. Looks like it's just barrel damage, though, on this gun, so that's doing just fine. Ooh, some more barrel damage on that forward gun. Does seem to have individual local weapon controllers, though, so that doesn't immediately cripple the gun. Oh, but those fuses, those depth fuses on the CSB, definitely causing it some issues whenever its shells hit the water in front of the Polaris there. It could be depth or it could be inertial. You know, they could be skipping off the water, but the fact that we haven't seen any go under the water... Oh wait, that one just did, so it must be inertial. The water skipping is making them detonate. CSB at 96%, Polaris at 97% as they pull along for a broadside blasting of each other. Neither ship able to really do an extreme amount of damage to the other, but the CSB does seem to be a bit lacking guns at this point. So Polaris has plenty left still. So at this position, that front gun just stopped aiming. Yeah, the frontal cannons can't get on target. Doesn't look like the Polaris has lost any guns. But it does need to come about. It seems a bit slow to do that. The CSB has gotten some repairs going. Don't know that it'll be able to fix any of these guns. Well, that gun has at least 1 barrel. Oh, looks like all 3 barrels on that turret are functional again. Just not what the Polaris wanted to see. But both ships are just about out of materials. So no further repairs will be affected by either ship. Still very close, but the Polaris is behind now by 2%, which is not enough to, you know, claim a victory, but considering it was in the lead just a minute ago. Now the ships are at extreme range of bombarding one another. Those are some hella plunging fire shots there. Yep. And the CSB turned in under them. Ooh, that turret takes another hit, but it was already disabled, so Doesn't really matter. You can hit that turret all you want. It's not really effective damage at this point. Yeah, they are quite far away. If they had gotten much further, they probably would have gotten some disqualification time. They are very spread out. But they're both coming about, turning in towards one another, closing the distance now. Look at the arc those shells have to put in, and at this range, with that much arc. It's really hard to land a shot on a turning target. You see all those shells just missing. We are halfway through this battle, and we've still got a 2% match. Well, that's a sizable hole in the side of the CSB there. Oh, but the Polaris is quite a bit underwater. It is actually gaining DQ time. It does have a habit of doing this. Does not float well. That is once again going to be a critical issue. All the CSB has to do is put a hole through the bow here, and she will go on down, but it's having a little trouble landing shots because of those fuses setting the shells off on the surface of the water. But without any materials to repair with, the Polaris has no way of, you know, rectifying its sinking situation. So that looks like it is going to be the end of round one. Polaris defeated by its lack of buoyancy. Let's go ahead and get started on round two. We will see how this goes. See if the Polaris can perform a little bit better this time. It didn't do bad last round. It was doing pretty well. It's just that whole sinking at 85% health thing that does it in. It can't afford to get that low on health without dying, basically. Too fragile. Whereas the CSB was just, it was doing fine, despite having multiple large holes in its hull. Those shells look like they're going to miss. Yep. Oh, the CSB did lose some barrel again already. High explosive secondaries on the Polaris, doing not a whole lot. Have already been repaired. This time the CSB is pulling out in front right away. It probably did not take the early shots to its turrets that it did in the first round. Oh, those inertial fuses. I think there's actually an inertial and a depth fuse, because that one didn't bounce, but detonated under the water. I just feel like a lot of those shells that are detonating prematurely would have hit the Polaris if they'd continued, you know, on their trajectory, but fuses set them off. Ooh, the Polaris has lost a forward turret here. It does look like the repair bots are working on rebuilding it, but that's a lot of materials that are going to go away. Oh, and this rear turret also just took a hit. I don't know that they're going to be able to get it working again. And pieces are just falling off. They just like look at all that wasted firepower that's hitting the water and doing nothing. This time the Polaris is about to run out of materials, and the CSB still has, you know, 4,000. CSB taking a pretty solid hit there. That is not a small chunk of hull that got ripped out, but thanks to the materials it has and all of its repair bots, it's pretty much fixing it. CSB at 99.8% health. The Polaris is at 89.8. You can tell the rear is already drooping down. And with that hit, that may create some buoyancy issues. That frame rate stutter can get really annoying sometimes, can't it? I don't even know if the Polaris... No, it doesn't have any active weapons other than maybe its secondaries. And the only active secondaries are on the wrong side of the ship to fight with. To its credit, it has managed to get lower in health this time without sinking, but it's not far from starting that timer. This time it might actually take enough damage to get an 80% sinking and not have to wait the full minutes to be, or the full minute to be disqualified. I'm surprised that the timer hasn't started yet, though. I mean, look at how low in the water this thing is. Oh, taking some hits to the bow. That lets water in. Yep, down she goes. And that should be 80% in sinking. Yep. So that is the end of round 2. Unfortunately, the Polaris by Blunder Guy has been eliminated from the tournament. That is its third loss, so that it is done and gone. So make sure you head down into the description to vote for it and the CSB. Cast your vote whether you think it's a yes or a no. They're both important. Because, as I mentioned before, it is percentage based. It's not just based on the number of yes votes. If the requirement is, I believe I have it set at 85%? Yeah. 85% yes votes gets you into the Hall of Beauty. So if you've got 84 yes and 16 no, that's not enough. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys on the battlefield.